So Tim, the first question that comes to mind is, and a lot of our clients ask us this, is when you first come into an organization and you talk to them about security, where do you tell them to start? What's the first step?
One of the first engagements we always suggest to a client is, we call it the bookshelf engagement. And it goes back to something that had been in my mind for the last couple of years is, as a security professional. And I really was focusing on, I'm a very visual learner. And I used to love going to my bookshelf as a kid and taking an encyclopedia off the shelf and finding answers to a problem. So we looked at the bookshelf engagement the same way here. And the approach that we take with clients is, we first want to understand the business that they're within and the types of controls and the types of risks that the client wants to manage from a business perspective first. Then when we sit with the client and go through the controls that they currently have, the approach that they're taking to put the controls into place, and then finally, where do they want to be from a maturity perspective today, a year from now, and 3 years from now? Okay. And we actually work with the client at that point to help design a program that will address their requirements for today, that year from now, and 3 years from now, based on the risks that the business wants to accept and the controls that the risk can put into place. And one of the things we offer is, how can we help you design that program? And then how can we help you put that program into place?
So is the bookshelf a variety of different services as you go along that maturity growth?
It can be. I also look at the bookshelf as a type of control framework, whether it's based on NIST or whether it's based on ISO or other control frameworks that are really relevant to the client. So what we do then is take a book off the shelf that's the type of controls they should have for that area, and then help them understand where are they today and where do they want to be in the future from a maturity perspective.
So ultimately, most organizations want to know, okay, if I'm in the US and I'm using NIST, or if I'm in Europe and I'm using ISO, where am I compared to the gold standard in terms of all those controls? What's your next step once you assess that, once you understand their maturity?
Right, so once we understand maturity and we understand their current state, we actually sit with the client then to present back to them the findings that we have. And then we ask the client, where do they wish to be and what maturity level is appropriate for them? And I've worked in organizations where the first response was, we want to be a level 4 or 5 from a maturity perspective. That's terrific, but from a cost perspective and battling the risks that you're facing, is that appropriate for your organization? So this is also an opportunity to level set with the organization and really ask them to appreciate and understand where do they stand currently in their industry and what's acceptable or what's practical and pragmatic for that business.
Great. So you're always managing risk. You can never eliminate risk, and that's part of this program.
Absolutely. We will never be without risk. And in fact, business leaders understand risk more than we do because they make them on a regular basis, particularly if you're in a regulated environment or if you trade on like the stock exchange. You're making those risk decisions inherently every day. What our job is as security professionals is provide the lens from a security perspective on the types of risks that they're facing.